Top Boxing News.
Okay, we'll start with this. Tomorrow night at the Place Bell, Laval, Quebec, Canada. Kim Clavel will be returning to action opposite the ring. Naomi Reyes attempting to rebound off her first professional loss to champion Jessica Neri Plata.
I've talked about this fight in a previous video, and I'll leave the link to that video in the comments section.
I am going with Kim Clavel to get back to her winning ways, outmaneuver and outpoint Naomi Reyes, who seems a decent-sized puncher, still very crude and rough around the edges. On the undercard,
we're going to be seeing unbeaten up-and-comer Alexis Kubitsky opposite the ring, Linda Contreras.
And I've talked about that fight in a previous video as well. I have Alexis Kubitsky winning a points decision. A more even fight that really isn't a bring-along fight is Caroline Vier versus France's own Emma Gongora. Emma's been around the block.
Emma's tough.
I remember well over a year ago, maybe two, she gave unbeaten Estelle Mosley all she could handle, and in my eyes, I'm not even sure that Estelle deserved to win that fight, but she was awarded a decision. Emma's tough, and she's going to test Caroline Vier.
I've seen Caroline Vier, and she's good, but how good will be tested tomorrow night. Gonna ride the fence when it comes to that one and just enjoy the show.
In the main event, headlining, is Canadia's own Kim Clavel. Now, as stated, I think she's gonna outmaneuver and outpoint Naomi Reyes. It's what happens after that where things get interesting. Rumor has it that Senicia Estrada,
she's gonna be returning to action in July opposite the ring, the light flyweight division's Jessica Neri Plata, who gave Kim her first loss in her last fight.
Not having any luck securing the undisputed minimum weight title fight with Yo Castavalle, rumor has it that Senicia is going to be moving up. She's going to return to light flyweight, and it will be opposite the ring, Jessica Neri Plata, for what are Jessica's WBC and WBA titles. So, that being said, if those rumors check out, that means Jessica won't be available for Kim Clavel to run it back with her sometime later on in the summer.
But what about Evelyn Bermudez?
There are only two champions in today's light flyweight division, only two remaining. Both of them are unified. Two of the titles are held by Jessica, and the other two are held by Evelyn.
And if it turns out that Jessica's all tied up with a Senicia Estrada fight, will Kim Clavel elect to take on Evelyn Bermudez for her two alphabet titles later on in the summer months?
Possible. The people over there at Top Rank won the purse bid for what's supposed to be the Artur Better Beef versus Callum Smith light heavyweight title fight. And rumor has it they want to do it in Canada. If they do, it's likely that Yvon Michel will be helming promotion.
Yvon Michel of Jim, he has a working relationship with the people over there at Top Rank. He's promoted Artur's fights on several occasions.
He promoted the Marcus Brown fight, which took place in Canada. Now, that fight between Artur and Callum is supposed to be happening in late summer.
And they're talking about doing it in either Montreal or Quebec, where this weekend's card is taking place in Quebec.
Talking about doing Better Beef versus Smith around August.
Right.
So you figure that if Kim takes care of business tomorrow night, gets herself back in the winner's bracket, perhaps she can finagle a situation where she challenges Evelyn on the undercard of Better Beef versus Smith,
which would be promoted by her promoter, Yvon Michel,
who will be helming promotion for the show if it does in fact land in Canada.
Artur will headline, and Kim Clavel could be in the co-main event opposite the ring unified champion of Argentina, Evelyn Bermudez.
Now, Evelyn's good. She's tough. She's a pressure fighter. She's rough and tumble, just like Jessica Neri Plata. But not that long ago, she got beat by Yo Castavalle, who moved up from minimum weight up to light flyweight to challenge Evelyn for her two alphabet titles. And she got beat.
She got beat by a minimum weight who was moving up in weight.
A minimum weight who's accomplished and is a good fighter, but not a big puncher. And you know what? Kim Clavel, she's not a big puncher either, and she's more of a light flyweight than Yo Castavalle is. I view an Evelyn Bermudez fight as a slightly more winnable fight for Kim than a
rematch with Jessica.
Not that Jessica is available for Kim to have a rematch with her, because she isn't, at least not based on the rumors I'm hearing.
A fight for Evelyn Bermudez's two alphabet titles is a more winnable fight for Kim Clavel than a rematch with Jessica. So I say, if Kim takes care of business tomorrow night, she should see about fighting Evelyn in August.
On the undercard of what could be Better Beef versus Smith in either Quebec or Montreal.
It can happen. All she's got to do is hold up her end of the bargain tomorrow night.
That's it, and I think she can beat Naomi Reyes. I think she can win a points decision.
She will.
Kim Clavel pursues that fight with Evelyn. I like her chances, and though I am thinking several months into the future, if Kim Clavel were to win that fight, and Senicia Estrada were to win her upcoming fight with Jessica Neri Plata, that would set up an undisputed light flyweight title fight between Kim and Senicia.
For either the end of this year or the beginning of next year.
That's stated. All Kim has to do is take care of business this weekend. In men's super lightweight news, Eddie Hearn on the Prograis signing, it's really important to get our foot in the door of the glamour divisions.
140 pounds really isn't one of the glamour weights. The glamour weight is north of 140 at 147, but because it's been less than glamorous...
News has not been forthcoming at 147 pounds. Good news. It's a division that has stagnated over time, so I definitely get what Eddie Hearn means. It's important to get our foot in divisions that are glamour divisions in boxing, Hearn told Boxing News. We kind of missed the boat at welterweight. It's not the glamour division it once was, but 4 or 5 or 6 years ago, we had Kell Brook. Unfortunately, he didn't capitalize on his win over Sean Porter, but now at 135 and 140, it's important for us to get in there with guys that can mix it up with the elite. And with Regis, I honestly believe, and I saw Josh Taylor reply to my message because I said Regis is number one. I really rate Josh Taylor, but I think right now with the momentum, I believe Regis Prograis would beat Josh Taylor. I promoted their first fight. It was brilliant, and they're both brilliant fighters, but I believe that we have the best 140-pounder in the world based on how Josh Taylor looked in his last fight and what might happen in his next. Eddie Hearn might be right.
The only way I see Teofimo Lopez beating Josh Taylor is if Josh Taylor is no longer the fighter that he once was. If he has, in effect, overstayed his welcome at 140, because at his best, Josh beats that kid.
The Josh Taylor that beat Ivan Baranchyk, the Josh Taylor that beat Regis Prograis, Jose Ramirez, that Josh Taylor would spank Teofimo Lopez, but we are unsure here and now that that's the same Josh Taylor we have in front of us.
If Teo beats him, do you think he beats Regis Prograis?
I don't. When you look at the fighters coming up, Ryan Garcia, Shakur, Tank, Devin Haney, all these guys, Teofimo, Josh Taylor, it's a massive division, and Regis is ready for all of those guys, Hearn continued. He had other offers. He had bigger offers. And that's one of the most pleasing things to me, is that he likes us. He likes what we do. He wanted to be part of that, and he wanted momentum. He wanted activity. And when we signed him, we said, bang, 7 weeks time, June 17th, Liam Paro, first defense. And not just at home, in New Orleans. I think the kid's a star.
I think Eddie's right.
Regis Prograis has come under fire in some circles, small ones, over not signing to Top Rank, but you tell me.
How much more time is he supposed to spend trying to get Jose Ramirez in the ring? There have already been 2 failed attempts.
I think people are overstating the size of a Jose Ramirez fight, the scale of it. I'd wager that a Jack Catterall fight is just as big, if not bigger in the UK, than that fight would be in the US.
The Ramirez fight.
In the eyes of many, Jack Catterall beat Josh Taylor, whereas Jose Ramirez got beat by Josh Taylor.
So you tell me which fight is the better fight.
The outcome of Taylor versus Catterall was controversial, even though Josh won, whereas when Josh beat Jose, there was no controversy.
Jack Catterall fight is a better fight than the Ramirez fight.
There.
I said it.
If you can't see that, then you need to have your eyes checked. In spite of Rick Merrigan's constant belly aching that Regis went to matchroom as opposed to Top Rank.
What, because you think he was looking out for Regis's best interests? I think he was looking out for his own.
For his own fighter's best interests. Not Regis, and not Jose Ramirez either. Arnold Barboza almost immediately comes to mind. Arnold Barboza, who's been on the same side of the street as Teofimo Lopez for as long as I can remember, under the Top Rank banner, yet in spite of that, he ain't had no luck getting that guy in the ring.
You're saying that he should have came to Top Rank to fight Jose Ramirez, who he already tried to fight 2 times and it didn't work out. Try to fight Arnold Barboza. Arnold's no more well-known in America than Jack Catterall is.
You're saying he should have went to Top Rank to fight the likes of Teofimo Lopez. Hey, listen, buddy,
Pal.
You couldn't guarantee your own fighter a Lopez fight.
Arnold Barboza's been calling out Teofimo Lopez for over a year.
You couldn't guarantee your own fighter that fight, but you're guaranteeing that fight for Regis Prograis.
How does that work? Lopez ain't your fighter. Arnold Barboza is, and the real reason that Rick Merrigan's butt hurt over this isn't because he wanted to make Ramirez versus Prograis. It's because he wanted to make Barboza versus Prograis.
Barboza versus Prograis isn't a bad fight. I'm not saying it's a bad fight, but it's not a fight that's head and shoulders above Paro. versus Prograis.
Let's not pretend that Arnold Barboza is Julio Iglesias out here. He isn't.
Jose Ramirez has more of a profile than Arnold Barboza, but you could argue that Jack Catterall has more of a profile than Jose Ramirez. Jack Catterall, in the eyes of many, unofficially beat Josh Taylor, whereas when Jose fought that same Josh Taylor, there was no controversy. You got beat.
Regis Prograis himself says he didn't feel Top Rank would guarantee fights with Ramirez, Lopez, or Taylor.
Those of you out there giving Regis Prograis a hard time for signing to Matchroom instead of Top Rank seem to be doing so on the premise that what? He's ducking Teofimo Lopez, he's ducking Jose Ramirez.
Ducking.
Really? You believe that based on how Teofimo's looked his last 2-3 fights? You think Regis is scared of this guy?
Based on how Jose Ramirez looked against Jose Pedraza and more recently Richard Comey, you think Regis is scared of these guys?
Are you stupid?
You drunk or something?
Do you watch boxing or do you not watch boxing? Did you see those fights? Did you see how Jose looked?
Did you see how Teofimo looked? And you think Regis is ducking these guys?
I will just have to respectfully disagree. Regis said, first off, Top Rank offered me a longer contract and Matchroom offered me a shorter contract, Prograis told Ringside Views. The fighters I want to fight at Top Rank are Ramirez, Josh Taylor, Teo, right? If you look at Ramirez from what I understand, Ramirez has one more fight at Top Rank. So would I be guaranteed him? I don't know. Honestly, I don't think Ramirez will ever fight me. I really just don't. Ramirez has one fight. He might go to Matchroom. If I go to Matchroom, Ramirez might stay at Top Rank. Ramirez, this is his last fight. Tio already said he's not going to fight on ESPN no more. This might be his last fight at Top Rank. And Josh Taylor, he might go up to 147. So all right then. Who am I left with at Top Rank?
Arnold Barboza.
If Teofimo Lopez were to beat Josh Taylor, who do you think Ramirez would try to fight? Teofimo or Regis Prograis?
Think about it.
Regis Prograis continued. Over on the Matchroom side, I just feel like Eddie, all those fights I named, Eddie can work with those promoters. He can get them. He can definitely still make those fights happen.
Very recently, Bob Arum spoke to Jay Habib of Ringside Reporter, and he said those fights can still happen even if Regis is with Matchroom.
So it's exactly the way that Regis Prograis says it is. Those fights are still a possibility, but there's no guarantee that going to Top Rank secures those fights.
And the Top Rank contract was a long-term contract, whereas the Matchroom one allows for more wiggle room. It's a 3-fight deal. 10, 11 months?
It's a 3-fight deal with Matchroom, and then we're going to try to get Matias, Prograis said. Matias has a belt. I do want a unification. Either fight him or Ryan Garcia.
Ryan Garcia won't park his car next to this guy, much less fight him.
But the Jack Catterall fight, the Subriel Matias fight, those are realistic options for Regis Prograis.
I think he made the right decision.
And I think anybody giving him a hard time for signing to Matchroom instead of Top Rank is being willfully obtuse and ignorant.
The Top Rank deal was a long-term deal. A long-term deal where you're not guaranteed the fights that you're there to fight in.
You are not guaranteed those fights. And if a guy who's already over there in Arnold Barboza, if he couldn't get Teofimo Lopez in the ring, what makes you think Regis would?
Are you stupid?
And finally, in men's heavyweight news, Tyson Fury now does not look likely to fight Andy Ruiz or Zhang next, as Joe Joyce has activated his rematch clause versus Zhang, and Frank Warren has said Ruiz is ruled out due to his financial demands. Warren insisted, I want to get him out whatever happens, but can they afford to put on another Derek Chisora kind of deal?
No.
Another Derek Chisora kind of fight, and who's hanging around?
Fury's stock is already pretty low as it is. Most people still blame him for the Usyk fight's collapse.
So let's think about it. It seems that Andy Ruiz, at least according to Frank Warren, has priced himself out of the Fury fight. Who's this guy think he's fighting? Anthony Joshua?
Huh?
Tyson Fury ain't Anthony Joshua.
He doesn't have Anthony Joshua's marquee value. You don't often hear Anthony's opponents squabbling over money.
Bickering about it. If Tyson Fury really were the money man in the United Kingdom, do you think that Andy Ruiz would have walked away from the fight?
Is that what happens when the money man's involved?
Or is that what happens when Tyson Fury is involved? I don't know that it's wise for Andy to play things this way. What are his alternatives? What are his options? I suppose that if he's not fighting Fury, he can then revisit the Deontay Wilder fight. But the Deontay Wilder fight likely doesn't provide much more money than the Fury fight would.
You can bill that as a pay-per-view in America, and I think it's good for 3, maybe 400,000 buys, maybe.
And that's a big maybe, because Deontay Wilder couldn't crack 100,000 buys with his last fight, and neither could Andy Ruiz. So together, Maybe they can bring you back
300,000, maybe 4 or close to it.
Maybe. I wonder how the Wilder people feel about that. If Andy Ruiz were to return to the table to try to do a fight with Deontay, the question is Deontay receptive to that fight? Does he want to bother? And who would bankroll it? Word around the campfire is that Deontay's in bed with the Saudis, and they're trying to do that big show at the end of the year. So leading up to it, would the Saudis bankroll a fight between Deontay and Andy? And if they did, who would broadcast it?
It doesn't look like Showtime's that involved in Deontay's career these days.
I don't want to jump to conclusions and be presumptuous, but I'm just saying that if he's in bed with the Saudis, who's going to air his fight, his next fight, is a legitimate question. Tyson Fury, he won't be able to fight Zhang apparently because Joe Joyce has activated his rematch clause. That news broke 2 or 3 days ago.
What if they pay Joe Joyce to step aside?
Pay Joe to step aside. Put him in a Dillian White fight.
What if Dillian doesn't want to fight?
Put him in a Derek Chisora fight.
Derek don't come cheap.
Put him in a Huey Fury fight.
Doesn't Huey Fury fight on Sky?
Yeah, so did Joseph Parker, and he fought Joe Joyce, so I don't think Huey Fury would rush right into a Joe Joyce fight, given that he hasn't fought in a while. So the options for Joe Joyce are scarce in the absence of a Zhang, that if they paid Joe to step aside, and he did, who would he fight?
So immaterial right now.
But the story is that Joe Joyce has activated his rematch clause, so he may end up fighting Zhang for a second time. And if he does, where does that leave Tyson Fury? Who does Tyson Fury fight? Because based on his financial demands, they'd have to build the fight as a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But it has to be pay-per-view worthy. It can't be like that Derek Chisora fight last year.
The Brits aren't just going to eat up whatever schlock you serve them.
We haven't heard too much from Tyson Fury the last couple of weeks, the last couple of months, because people are still upset over the Usyk fight's collapse, and most people blame him.
His only chance for some recompense would be taking on a high-risk, low-reward guy like a Zhang.
But if Zhang's all tied up with Smoke and Joe Joyce, if they can't get Joe to stand down and step aside, where does that leave Tyson Fury? What does it leave him with?
I don't know what the hell he's going to do.
But he needs to have a fight. If he is set to participate in that mega match in Saudi later on this year, he needs a keep busy fight.
I don't envy Frank Warren.
Or George. They're going to have a hell of a hard time conjuring up an interesting opponent for this guy.
Because there aren't that many guys left.